I'm Danny Kanell with CBS Sports HQ, here to help you with your picks for your bowl selections, whether you're in a bowl pool or you just want to pick each game outright versus the spread. We're here to help. Got my guys Tom Fornelli and Chip Patterson here to help out. It's the Cheez-It Bowl. Air Force takes on Washington State. I think it could be called like the polar opposite bowl. Everything, styles of play, the coaching styles, personalities, all of it, you have the exact opposites on both ends. Air Force with Troy Calhoun, very reserved, dialed in, disciplined, versus Mike Leach's squad from Washington State, a little more brash, going to speak what's on his mind, wide open passing attack, exact opposite across the board. Chip, Air Force is laying 3 against the team from the Pac-12. Which way you leaning?
I'm leaning towards Air Force. This is a really, really good Falcons team. 10 wins on the season. And, you know, the only thing that they have in common might be a love of military history between these two squads, between these two coaches at least. And so when I look at Air Force going up against Washington State, they were competitive against Power 5 competition so far this year. And I think about service academies in bowl games because since 2010, service academies are 12-5 against the spread in bowl games. That is the kind of advantage that I love to get, especially when this is one of the better Falcons teams that we've seen from Troy Calhoun. So, yeah, give me Air Force. I will lay the points because of the service academy's advantage and because throughout the season, this was a really, really consistent team. You know, Washington State was up and down. We heard Mike Leach even criticize his own squad throughout the season in terms of how they were going into the year thinking they were going to beat everybody. You're not getting that from Air Force. You are getting, as you mentioned, Danny, a much more disciplined approach. So I'm going to take Air Force. I'm going to lay the 3 points, and I'm going to feel pretty confident about it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember last year's Cheez-It Bowl. It was probably the bowl of the century, but it was for all the very wrong reasons. It was Cal and TCU and 2 offenses that couldn't manage to find points if you showed them where they were. And you look at this year's matchup, the total's at 67.5. So this is boding to be a very different game than what we saw in the Cheez-It Bowl last year. And I like the over because when we mentioned, the disparity between these two teams and their style. Air Force, an option team that runs the ball. Wazoo, a team that, if you ask it to run, it's like pulling Mike Leach's teeth. He just doesn't want to do it unless he absolutely has to. But I don't see either of these defenses having a very easy time stopping the other. And also that Air Force offense, while it's known for running the ball, watch out for the tight end on the wheel route because they go to that one a lot and they score a lot with it and get a lot of big plays. So I think this is going to be a tennis match. I think it's going to go back and forth. We're going to see tons of points. The over is 4-1 in Air Force's last 5 bowl games. That goes along with Chip's trend about how option teams and service academies have done in bowls. But it's also 4-1 in Washington State's last 5, and it's 6-2 the last 8 times Washington State has been an underdog. So when I look at the matchups, I see a Washington State team that had trouble stopping the run this season going against an option offense. That doesn't bode well for it, but at the same time, on the defensive side of the ball for Air Force, they don't exactly have the greatest athletes in the secondary. They're not very good pass defense when they face a potent passing offense, which is exactly what Wazoo is bringing to this matchup. So I see both of these offenses having the best of it overall. I like the over, and I'm also with Chip. If I'm taking the spread, I'm probably taking Air Force before I take Washington State.
All right, so we're all in agreement that Air Force laying the 3 is probably the right side, the 3rd-ranked rushing attack in the country. But the reason I'm a little bit tentative to take the over, Tom, is the time of possession. Like, Air Force is going to methodically move the ball up the field. They're not a big play offense. And what would concern me is that they kind of use that as a tactic to say, you know what, Washington State, we know you're going to score some points. Let's try to just keep the ball away from you, go slowly up and down the field. So I think it could be a shootout. I think it'll approach there, but I just wonder if possessions become a problem for that one. But in any case, I do think Air Force comes out on top of this one as well. I think they'll win comfortably. Chip alluded to it earlier. When Mike Leach calls out his team, I'm going to pay attention to the head coach there. We always talk about motivation. Where are you going to be? When you start getting cut as a defense, when I'm talking about cut blocks and they're going for your ankles and your knees and they're always coming at you, that gets old really, really fast. I wonder how invested Washington State will be in this game. They definitely have better talent, but I'm going to go with Air Force as well in this one. It's the Cheez-It Bowl, Air Force, Washington State, Friday, December 27th at 10:15 p.m.